Our webinar today is the art of growth hacking for you guys, for digital marketers. And our presenter is Neil Patel. He's a co-founder of KISSmetrics and Crazy Egg, and he's used the exact strategies that he's going to be talking about today to build his business. So he is definitely the expert. I just want to let you know that the webinar is being recorded, and I'll send the recording and slides tomorrow morning for you guys, so keep a lookout for that email. This webinar is part of a series on WordStream's PPC University. So if you are doing paid search advertising, then this is definitely the resource for you. It's got free online courses and all of our webinars that range in subjects, in all digital marketing subjects. So head over, not right now, but after the webinar, head over to wordstream.com/learn to check out more resources from WordStream. And during the webinar, feel free to participate in the conversation on Twitter. We'll be using the hashtag growth hacking. There's Neil's handle. You can also use the handle WordStream. We will have someone from our team tweeting live as well, so feel free to ask questions up there, or you can throw them right into the control box. You see the question tab there. So just a quick intro to who I am. I'm our partner marketing specialist at WordStream, so I am organizing all sorts of these webinars for you guys. We do several of them a month, and we love to bring you the best experts possible, and so that's why we have Neil here today. So I'll let him take it away. Just my last reminder that this is being recorded. I'll send the recording and slides out tomorrow morning, and throw any questions into the control box so that we can get to them in the Q&A at the end. And on to you, Neil.
Thank you for having me. My name is Neil Patel. As Kate mentioned, I'm the co-founder of KISSmetrics, Crazy Egg, and I've helped a lot of companies throughout the years grow their traffic, revenue, conversions, etc. And now we want to do the same with you. So let's get started. Growth is important, and most great companies take it seriously. This is a quote by Adam Nash, and I always love reading this, especially when I start talking about growth hacking, right? Because if you really want to grow, you got to take it seriously. You can't just be like, okay, let's grow our traffic, our revenue, our customer base by X% this year. That's fine. But unless you have a plan on how you're going to do that and who within the company is going to be involved and the whole company's thinking about it together, it's not going to happen. Keep in mind, growth hacking is not just about telling the marketing team, hey, go figure this out and grow more. Growth hacking involves multiple people throughout the organization, whether it's from people in product, engineering, design, marketing, and even in sales, right? It's a team effort because you know what? Everyone within a company can affect growth. And I'll go into a few live examples later on. So before we get started, there's a few questions you need to know. One, who are your customers, right? If you can't figure out who your customers are, how are you going to know which type of people to target? You also need to know where to reach them. If you can't reach your customers in Twitter or on Twitter, there's no point in you marketing on Twitter, right? Yeah, you could have marketing or your social media manager saying, yeah, you know, look at all this engagement we got on Twitter. 10,000 followers, we have, you know, X thousand tweets, we have so much engagement, people starring our tweets, etc. But if your customers aren't on Twitter, what's the point, right? So you need to know where to reach them. You also need to keep in mind that crowded channels channels get crowded very fast. A good example of this is Dropbox. So you guys all know what Dropbox is. You guys all use it. It costs roughly $99 for their paid product. Not the free product, but paid product, right? Because they give you X amount of storage space for free, and then they offer you more for money. When Dropbox first started out, they decided that they were going to test out Google AdWords. Now it was costing them $233 to $388 to acquire a customer via AdWords. That's a lot of money. It doesn't make sense, right? If they're only getting $99 a year, they're probably losing money on this. Because keep in mind, just because they charge you $99 doesn't mean they make $99. They got to pay for servers, the storage, the bandwidth. They got to pay for employees, etc. So their margins aren't that high. So there's no way that they could spend this much money and actually be profitable. So what did Dropbox do? They use a distribution hack. As you all know, is you can get more free space if you refer a friend, if you tweet about Dropbox. If you do all these things, they actually give you more storage. This is what's helped them get more and more users. That's not too bad, right? That's how they're worth over $10 billion. That's right, $10 billion. All because of growth hacking techniques such as this distribution hack. So let's go over 5 strategies for distribution. 1, integrations. 2, work emails. 3, embeds. 4, powered by stuff. And 5, free stuff. So let's dive right into the first one and let's go from there. So integrations. Are you down with OPP? Right? Other people's platforms. You're not the only business out there. There's so many out there. The chances are, if someone's using your product, your service, whatever it may be, they're probably using someone else's product and service as well. It may not be your competitor, but it could be someone else in your space. For example, at KISSmetrics, we provide analytics. Google Analytics is another analytics tool. It's not a direct competitor. They offer stuff we don't, and we offer stuff that they don't. So a lot of our customers use both. But the chances are, Google Analytics has a lot of our customer base. So why not tap into their platform? And here's a few examples, right? Shopify. They have over 30,000 businesses on their platform that you can potentially leverage. Salesforce has over 100,000. And the beautiful part about Salesforce is, although they don't have as big of a quantity as a Dropbox or someone, their customers spend a lot of money, right? Salesforce is what, a $30–40 billion company? Box has over 120,000 businesses. 37 Signals, 150,000. Yammer, 200,000 plus. Constant Contact has over 400,000. GitHub has over 1.9 million people on GitHub. MailChimp has over 2 million. That's a lot of users. Google Apps has over 4 million. FreshBooks has over 4.5 million. Google Analytics has 30 million plus accounts. That's a lot of accounts. Evernote also has over 30 million accounts. Last but not least, Dropbox. Over 50 million people are using Dropbox, right? That's a ton of people out there. So how do you do these integrations? 1, integrations need to make your product better. For example, I mentioned how Evernote has over 30 million people on Evernote. A lot of the people on Evernote are just consumers. They're not necessarily businesses. At KISSmetrics, we provide a solution to B2B companies, right? Just like WordStream. WordStream provides a B2B solution. You can't take WordStream or you can't take KISSmetrics and integrate that into Evernote. Why? Because Evernote doesn't benefit either of our customer bases, nor does that integration benefit any of Evernote's users, right? The integrations actually have to be relevant. Now, for example, Shopify, on the other hand, would be a great integration for both KISSmetrics and WordStream. Why may that be? Well, think about it. WordStream helps you with pay-per-click. If you're on Shopify, pay-per-click's a great way to make more e-commerce sales. KISSmetrics helps you with measuring and improving conversions. If you're on Shopify, getting more conversions is a great way for you to make more money. See, so those integrations benefit Shopify users because it helps them get more out of the Shopify platform. On the flip side, those integrations also help both WordStream and KISSmetrics. Why? Because we can actually generate more customers by leveraging Shopify's customer base. Plus, think of it this way. If someone's on Shopify, they're already paying Shopify. There's a good chance that they'll also be willing to pay you too, the WordStream and the KISSmetrics of the world, because we can help them make more money. In essence, that's a very valuable integration. That's a win-win situation for both parties. And it's actually a win-win-win situation in which it's a win for Shopify, it's a win for the companies like KISSmetrics and WordStream, and it's a win for the users of both the platforms because it actually helps them do better. So that's an example of a valuable integration. You also want to measure your conversions and revenue. So when you do these integrations, even if it's relevant, like the example I just went through, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually going to work out. You need to measure conversions, revenue, figure out where you should be tweaking, massaging, modifying, so that way you can maximize that channel. You also want to discover valuable integrations. You may think that 1 or 2 integrations is the best for your users. But you have to keep in mind you're limited on development time, right? These integrations just don't happen by snapping your fingers. It actually takes time from a user perspective, right? From a user perspective on your end, not the consumer's end, in which you and the other partner you're integrating with have to spend some time on the development side. So why not ask your users, your customer base, which integrations do they feel would be the most valuable for them? Because you may say, hey, let's integrate with Shopify, but if all your customers are saying, no, 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 we prefer you integrate with Salesforce first, you probably should listen to your customers because they're all probably spending money on Salesforce, right? The beautiful part about these integrations too is it also helps improve how long your customers stick around. So if you have a subscription-based business and someone's already using someone else's product and you integrate, right, it makes them more likely to use your product as well at a much longer period of time. You also want to make your partner pages awesome, in which just because you have an integration, it doesn't mean people are going to sign up right away. You need to actually have partner pages like promoting your Shopify integration or Google Apps integration or Salesforce or whatever it may be. This will help drive more customers to these other third parties. If these other third-party applications that you're integrating with see that you're driving more users, they're also going to start pushing more users your way as well. Now let's get on to the second one, work emails. So here's an example. Try using your work email address. Podio connects you with your coworkers and clients, right? Put in your work email, boom. They'll automatically dig through your address book and figure out, all right, here's all your coworkers or clients or people that you should be using Podio with. Here's another example from Yammer. Join your company's social network. You put in your email address and they'll automatically befriend you with all your coworkers, right? You guys will all be using Yammer together. Here's another example, and this one's from Box. Give 50 gigabytes to friends and coworkers today. So they're saying, hey, put in your email address and we'll actually give all your coworkers more storage for free just because you put in the work email address. So when you're leveraging work emails, you got to leverage onboarding. And these things also go for people that aren't work-related emails. You can do the same thing with a Gmail address or a Yahoo or a Hotmail, etc. But the reason I focus on work emails here is I've seen a much higher ROI. The work emails tend to be less fake. There's more money involved because typically if it's work-related, there's a higher lifetime value as well as potential spending dollar from the person, etc. Right? So when you're doing this, you need to optimize onboarding, in which just collecting a work email isn't enough. If you can't get the user through your system, in which I'm like, all right, you asked me for my work email, let me put in Neil Patel or Neil@KISSmetrics.com. I pop that in. You now find all of my work colleagues. And if you don't take me through a flow that says, oh, connect with them, message them, add a picture, whatever it may be, in essence, you need to optimize the onboarding, right? Without optimizing that, you have my work emails, you have people that I could potentially connect with, but I don't know what to do next. You got to guide me. That's the beautiful part about work emails. Once you figure out the onboarding and you can optimize that, you can tend to really increase how long someone is a customer and continually pays you. You also need to show people who they should follow. Make recommendations. Make their life easy. People are lazy. Right? Even me, I myself may work at least 60 to 70, 80 hours on a bad week, and that's a lot of hours, but I'm still lazy, in which, yeah, I'll work hard, but some of the things that are supposed to be simple, if they're not, I just won't even do them, even though I know I should be doing them, right? So you need to make people's lives easier. You also need to utilize invitation during the onboarding process. Now, for example, if my email is neil@kissmetrics.com and there's another employee called John, and during the onboarding, you guys asked me to invite people and John signed up. You should also ask John to invite more people during the onboarding too, right? This creates that viral loop in which I invited someone, those people invite someone, those people invite more people, right? It continually grows and grows. This is how Facebook got so big. They leveraged that viral loop. You also need to measure the number of people in every company. When you're doing work emails, you want to make sure you're capturing a large portion of the workforce. If not, you need to keep sending follow-up reminders, encouraging others to, invite more from within their company. And this is important because once you land clients like Microsoft, they have over 100,000 employees. You need to make sure that during the onboarding process, you're getting more and more people within that organization, right? Because you're not going to get them from one email or one day. It's going to happen over a course of time. You also need to discover which interactions are engaging, in which certain things such as uploading a photo may cause people to use your application more, and everyone during onboarding is doing them. You also may find that asking people to type in a one-page bio isn't that engaging, and no one's doing it, and that's where you're losing everyone. So you need to figure out what to eliminate and what to focus on. Now the next one is embeds. You're all familiar with YouTube, right? YouTube players all over the web. And with YouTube, this is actually one of the main reasons they grow. You like a video, you showcase it on Facebook or on your blog, etc. And then from there, you're actually generating, or YouTube's generating more views. People are playing those videos on Facebook or on your site. And then have you noticed after the video's over, they recommend more videos for them to play and you click through and it takes you to YouTube? That's how they get a lot of traffic. The next one is SlideShare. Same thing. They have presentations. You see presentations all over the web. You like it, you go to SlideShare. You may find more. You may even create your own and upload one and embed it on your own site. So how do you optimize these embeds? One, you got to figure out why people should embed what you're trying to put. I remember when I started out, one of my first businesses, it was a marketing agency. And I wanted people to embed some marketing widget on their websites. Now, the overall purpose for that embed was for me to generate more traffic and more revenue to my marketing agency. But there was one issue. There was no real benefit for people to embed this marketing widget on their site. It didn't provide them anything. It was just out of my self-interest. It has to be a two-way street. If your embed doesn't benefit the consumer, the end person embedding, you're not going to get anyone to really embed it, right? So there has to be some value. For example, with YouTube, I enjoy sharing funny videos. So I'm going to embed some of those on Facebook, my own websites, Twitter, etc. You also need to make it easy as possible to embed. If you look at YouTube, you look at SlideShare, they all have one-click buttons in which, like, click, it copies it, and then from there, you can end up popping it into WordPress, Facebook, etc. They even ask you, hey, what type of site are you embedding this on? Blog? Oh, if it's WordPress, here's the code to make it simple and easy on WordPress, right? So you need to make it really easy for people to embed, because if you don't, you're going to get a ton of drop-off there. You also want to track how well your embeds convert. For example, if someone's embedding something on their site, like a YouTube, widget, and people aren't clicking over and getting back to the site, it's not that useful. Great. If no one's watching even the embeds, YouTube doesn't make ad money. So you got to optimize. For example, if you look at YouTube, they've optimized in which at the end of a YouTube clip, they show you more relevant videos that you'll like. They weren't doing this before, but they are now, right? And this is what's helped them get more traffic back to YouTube and generate more ad revenue. You also need to test relevant call to actions. What are you going to show people at the end of the embed? Is it attractive enough to make people click through and take action that you want them to do, right? If not, keep testing until you find ones that work well for you. You also need to optimize for search, but don't obsess over it. A lot of people who do these embeds do it for search engine rankings. Yeah, it's great to get traffic back to your site, but don't try to use rich anchor text and manipulate search engines and try to cheat the system. Eventually, it'll just cause you to get penalized. Next, powered by. So here are some examples of powered by stuff, right? How disappointed would you be if you could no longer read this blog? That's by Qualaroo. Powered by user voice, right? Getting feedback. Powered by webs, etc. There's so many. Buffers button is really popular. That's how they grew. These are all examples of powered by that you could be putting on your website. So what are you powering? I remember when I ran the agency, I used to also put on other people's website, powered by ACS. That was the name of my marketing agency. And I would be like, yeah, you know, TechCrunch is powered by ACS, and Gawker Media was, and all these people were putting these powered by badges. There was one issue. No one knew what we were powering. We were doing all these companies' marketing, and they were promoting us because we were doing it for free, but it wasn't converting into any customers. I just thought it was cool because I had my logo everywhere. Well, having a logo everywhere isn't that cool if you can't actually make it convert, right? You got to test. It would have been better off putting marketing by ACS versus, you know, powered by or optimized by ACS, because no one knew what that meant. You also need to test a copy of the call to action. Qualaroo, for example, tested so many different variations from it, and through it, they've been able to actually get people back to their site and signing up. But it didn't work like that before because the original call to action wasn't getting clicked on. You also need to test and optimize your landing pages. For example, if you have a Powered by badge on TechCrunch, someone clicks on it, goes back to your site, you could just show them your homepage, but you're probably better off showing them a landing page that's targeted towards them and being like, welcome TechCrunch readers. You know, here's a special version of WordStream just for you, right? So doing landing pages and all these things actually helps. Just like WordStream. Remember at the beginning of the webinar, they mentioned wordstream.com/learn, I believe the URL was. And by actually focusing on creating landing pages that cover different topics, the conversions are going to be much higher than WordStream telling people, hey, everyone just check out our homepage. Because the homepage could be on anything, right? Creating landing pages is really important. You also want to track views, clicks, conversions, and LTVs. So from how many people are seeing the Powered by, how many people are clicking through, going to your site, signing up, etc. You also want to measure individual effectiveness. If, you know, Powered by on one type of site is better than others, then you need to focus on those. For example, we have one company called Hello Bar, and it's an orange bar that goes on top of your sites. We get a ton of clicks back to our site from celebrity gossip sites because like they use our product, but all those clicks don't convert into customers. On the flip side, marketing blogs and entrepreneur type of blogs drive a lot less traffic back to us, but those visitors actually convert into users, right? So you need to measure by channels, individuals, websites, people, etc. So that way you can figure out what areas you should be focusing on and which ones you shouldn't be. Last but not least, free stuff. Here's a good example by HubSpot. They get thousands of leads a day for their product. Why? Because a lot of them are coming from this grader, right? Get a free marketing grader in which you're putting in your URL, your Twitter handle, etc., and they're telling you how you screw up. Isn't that genius? They're selling you a marketing solution, and their free thing is telling you how you're screwing up on your marketing. That's awesome, right? Because you're like, wait, I'm screwing up? Oh, okay, let me check out what their paid product is. Here's another one that I have on my personal blog, QuickSprout. Do you want more traffic? Put in your URL, and I'll optimize, and I'll tell you, hey, here's what you're doing wrong. Similar to a greater model, but focuses more on SEO and social media. Here's another one by iSpy, right? And what it does is it gives you free PPC and SEO keyword alerts. WordStream also has another good example. If you go onto wordstream.com, actually give you a free report. Converts really well. Why? Because the free stuff that they're giving you is so valuable that you're much more likely to sign up for their product. And it doesn't just have to be tools or reports. You can actually do content stuff, kind of like HubSpot. So free marketing kit, right? They're just taking ebooks that they've already written, packaging them up, and offering it for free. So when you're doing all this free stuff, there's a few things you need to keep in mind. One, map to the customer decision making, in which you need to figure out what the customer's logic or the way that they're thinking before they buy your product. For HubSpot, it was, hey, people are looking to improve their marketing. Well, not everyone knows that they need to improve their marketing, so let's create a free tool telling people and showing them how they're screwing up on their marketing, so that way they're more likely to sign up for our paid version. You also need to think about what you can repurpose. Don't just create new stuff. Test stuff first, right, in which repurpose blog material, other stuff that you guest posted on, other ebooks, marketing collateral, stuff used at conferences, whatever it may be, repurpose stuff. You also want to educate your prospects. For example, with HubSpot, they don't just expect you to sign into a grader and then buy. They'll drip you, they'll email you, they'll educate you on how you can improve your marketing, and then they go, by the way, our product at HubSpot makes life easier, so you should check that out too. You also want to test your ideas minimally, in which if you're going to offer free ebooks, repurpose some old ones, see what happens, and if it works out well and it converts well, then spend time and money into making it prettier, better, or custom tailored content that's brand new just for people who opt in, whatever it may be. But first make sure it works before you go invest too much time and money into it. You also want to measure and optimize for revenue, in which once you get an email address or a lead, if you can't figure out how to convert them, then it's useless. You need to figure out what part of the funnel are people dropping off on and how you can improve it and get them to go through the whole funnel. When you're doing all of this, you need to figure out what's best for your product, as well as what's best for your consumers and other people's products. Growth hacking is all about figuring out what benefits you and your consumers. If you can create a win-win situation, you're much more likely to grow, right? For example, if you decided to do an integration with someone else's products, it better benefit you, your customers, and the other company that you're doing integration with, or else you're going to have integration and no one's going to promote it, no one's going to see it or use it. When you're doing all of this, you have no excuses to make money. I don't care if you're a startup, everyone could be making money. And that's it. Now it's time to get into some Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Neil. Just quickly, before we start with the questions, I want to mention that if we don't get to your questions today, you can email us or catch us on Twitter. That contact information is right on this slide. And I also want to give you a couple special opportunities to boost your marketing results from WordStream and from one of Neil's companies, Crazy Egg. If you could go to the next slide, Neil, the first one is a free account, AdWords account audit from WordStream. So for those of you who are doing paid search advertising, it's really hard to benchmark your success. WordStream has a tool called our AdWords Performance Grader, and we've analyzed over 50,000 AdWords accounts through this tool. So we have tons of data to benchmark you against and provide some really actionable feedback for you to go forward and make better informed decisions. We can also do that for your landing pages. Neil talked about the importance of sending traffic to a relevant landing page, and this is a tool that will help you find out if that page actually is relevant and set up correctly. And so what we can offer you today is to get, you can go visit those URLs on your own, or we can get you on the phone with a WordStream AdWords certified representative, and they will help audit your account for you. They'll walk you through these tools and one-on-one give you that really actionable feedback. And the other offer for you today is a 60-day free trial from Crazy Egg. Neil, do you want to talk a little bit about more about what Crazy Egg can do for these marketers?
Sure. So with Crazy Egg, think of it this way. Google Analytics will show you numbers of what's happening, but Crazy Egg will show you a visual representation of how people click and engage on your website, in which it'll show you hotspots where they're clicking, where they're not, and it'll bring light to like, hey, people aren't scrolling down this far down my page and all my call to actions are below this pinpoint or area. Maybe I should move them up. So it'll show you all these different things that you can do to maximize your revenue and conversions.
Great. And the last opportunity here is, like I mentioned, WordStream's here to help you with your paid search advertising. So we would love to give you a demo of our tool. What it helps you do is manage something that should take hours and hours each week in 20 minutes or less by giving you some basically opportunities. You should make this change or make that change, and all you have to do is click yes or no. So pretty simple. You have a poll question right here. If you want any of these offers or all of these offers, just click and we'll follow up with you. Nothing you have to do. And I'll throw the URLs into the control box in case you want to do that on your own. Okay, so the poll will be open for a little while. Just a reminder again, this is recorded. We'll send the recording and slides tomorrow morning. And I'm going to go ahead with some Q&A. So the first question that I have for you, Neil, is if growth hacking strategies can work for enterprise or any other size companies that have a really focused target audience. You know, you talked about integrations and expanding your network by partnering with similar companies, but what, do these strategies still work if there's not really other companies you feel like you can network with?
So to repeat the question, you're saying, will it work if there's not as many companies you can integrate with, or?
Yeah, exactly. If you really have a focused audience, you don't feel like there's other companies you can integrate with or build off their audience.
Yeah, you can still do other things, right? For example, you don't have to do integrations. That's just one strategy. You can do invitation process. Think of it this way. Your customers know more customers that are your ideal fit than anyone else. For example, if you're targeting marketers, a marketer typically has other friends who are in the same industry. So they can make recommendations. So you can do invite programs, such as like Dropbox, in which they did, hey, you'll get more storage or you'll get X, Y, and Z if you refer more people. But growth hacking doesn't have to be limited to one of these tactics or even any of these tactics. You can be creative and come up with your own variations as well.
That's great. Really, really helpful. We're getting some questions about people who are from different stages in their business, from startups to the more stable, growing, and even up to the enterprise level. Could you maybe talk about which growth hacks could be more applicable to startups as opposed to these really set up enterprise companies?
Yeah, so they all work for companies of any size. There is no, hey, I'm a startup or I'm an enterprise, so these tactics are better for me. All the ones I described today, I've seen them used by startups, and I've seen them used by Fortune 500 companies who are trying to leverage them as well.
Is there any of these tactics in particular that are most relevant for startups?
The one that I've seen a lot more startups doing is like referral type of programs in which you refer and you get more free storage or space or something. A lot of startups also do like powered by. It doesn't make sense always for the companies who are using your products. The startups are doing, hey, because if you're a startup, you typically know other startups, right? And as you know, startups don't have a ton of money, but they do know a lot of people. So a lot of times what they'll do is say, I'll give you my product or service for free if you put X, Y, and Z promotion on your site, like a badge or powered by. Mixpanel does this, right? A lot of startups have Mixpanel badges on their sites because they offer free analytics for startups.
Cool. And on that subject of startups, WordStream is we would consider ourselves a startup, and one of the growth hacks that Neil mentioned is giving away free stuff like HubSpot's Grader, and WordStream has our similar tools that have just skyrocketed our business. Before we had our graders, the leads just weren't flowing in, and once we had this opportunity to really help people who are great potential customers, and it's a free tool to help them, they get to know us and they're more likely to be a customer. So I can speak from experience that at least that hack has worked very successfully for WordStream.
Yeah, and the beautiful part about tools, like you mentioned with WordStream, is because you're a startup, you can create these tools faster than the large corporations can. So as a startup, any of these types of things like the graders, the tools, whatever it may be, it could be something you can create, assuming you have dev resources available.
Yeah, definitely. And we're getting a lot of questions about verticals, so fashion industry, food industry, any specific recommendations you have for different verticals?
So the more niche and narrow you get, the less volume you have, but the conversions do skyrocket. And a lot of things that I've actually seen is partnerships. So if you're in the food vertical, health vertical, fashion vertical, whatever it may be, there's a lot of blogs within your space that have big user bases. And if you can figure out what entices them to promote you to their list, your growth actually explodes. For example, you could do a deal with a blog in the food vertical and say, hey, for every paid member you send, we're going to give you X dollars, or we're going to give you X bonus, or whatever it may be. And we found that to work really well.
Great. I hope that's helpful for you guys who've been asking that. Going back to the powered by, I think some of our audience was concerned that they may get hit negatively by Google from that. You still recommended that. Any advice you can speak to if Google will penalize you for doing the powered by?
No, they shouldn't penalize you, because when you're doing powered by, you're giving people the code to put on their site, and just follow the link, and you won't get penalized by Google.
Awesome. And you talked about referral programs. For referral programs, would you suggest using these as commission-based, or without even financial gain, or giving away something free? Do you think there's a better way to go, or any suggestions on which is best for someone's different business?
So I've seen two versions work well, and you got to test to see which one works better for your business. But I've seen the paying money out works extremely well, and I've also seen giving more of your product for free, like a premium plan for 30 days, right? If you invite 5 users to start using. Both versions have worked really well. There's also the Dropbox version, which does give you more storage space, etc. The problem I hate about that model is after people invite, there's no incentive for them to invite more unless the storage space keeps getting used up. Now with Dropbox, because their product inherently is sticky, yeah, the model works, but for most of your businesses it won't work. So ideally you need to come up with stuff that causes users to invite people, and you give them something for free for 30 days or money, and then you try to get them to invite more users the next 30 days because it resets, right? So think of it as like a currency.
I'll have to say that the Dropbox method has worked for me. I've definitely, it's made me become a customer. Really specific to the referrals, do you know a good way to track the money coming in through referrals?
It's just tracking, right? So you can either build your own software, or you can use existing referral-based software. There's a lot. If you just go like referral-based software, you'll find a ton when you do a Google search. And they usually keep track of everything for you. There's also affiliate management tools like Has Offers, which also can help.
And what about the partner? What do they need to do to track it? Have you had any success with a certain referral model, or seen other successful referral models?
What do you mean tracking the partner?
So if WordStream was to be a referrer, say for Acton, the CMS, and we were getting a commission, and Acton's wondering how to track the commission that's needing to go to the various partners.
You usually use a third-party tool like Has Offers. They track it all for you, and they can even help you manage the payouts.
Okay, so hopefully you guys got that. Just try one of those third-party tools. Wow, we have so many questions coming in. Do you have time for more, Neil, or you have to get going?
I have another 20 minutes.
All right, well then we'll keep going. They're coming in so fast, I'm just going to start reading them off. When you're implementing these tactics, would you recommend a layered strategy, or would you try and go ahead with just one and focus in at one at a time?
Well, the reality is you don't have time to implement 5 of them at once. If you do, you're probably not thinking them through enough, because it all takes engineering and dev resources. A lot of these do, at least. for that reason, I would just do one at a time, fine-tune and tweak it, and once you have it works well, move on to the next one. If you don't think it'll work at all, you can always trash it, put it on the sideline, and move on to the next tactic as well. A lot of it's testing, but try one at a time.
Cool. We're getting some questions about email marketing. I think some people maybe wouldn't consider that related to growth hacking, but are there any ways you can use email marketing specifically as a growth hacker, and what type of messaging might be the most effective is using it really for hacking growth, not just nurturing and your audience and such?
A lot of the email stuff that people are using the growth hack is either going to be referring friends, or it's going to be using email within your application. For example, MailChimp has it, right? When you send out emails, it says email sent by MailChimp. HubSpot has this sales tool. I think it's called Signals. They may have changed the name. But when it was called Signals and they were sending out emails, sales-related emails, at the bottom of the email it would say, like, this email was sent by Signals, right? Which helped them get more users. Those are good examples of how emails could be used in your advantage. Hotmail did the same thing. When people created accounts and sent out emails, they'd always say this email was sent by Hotmail, and that's how they grew so fast. When you're doing all of this in emails and trying to grow, if it's not related to your product, it won't work out as well. If you're just trying to leverage emails and email marketing, yeah, you can email your user base, create drip sequences. The possibilities are endless. You can offer discounts and coupons if they're not even opening up the emails and respond to your existing messages. So you can test out quite a few things. It's just there's no simple answers. More so you got to play with it and figure out what's best for you.
Yeah, definitely test, test, test. We like to test everything at WordStream and use data to make informed decisions about what works best for us. Could you give some recommendations about other resources to go to learn more about growth hacking?
Yeah, there's a community called Growth Hackers, and it's worth checking out.
And do you know the website for that? I can find it and put it in the chat box.
Growthhackers.com.
Growthhackers.com. Great. And Sean Ellis is one of the proponents of this idea, growth hacking, from the very beginning. He's an expert. We've had him on a webinar before. I highly recommend his advice, and yeah, you can find that at growthhackers.com as well. Let's see, more questions. What is your advice for using growth hacking to get more job applicants? So as an employer, so not just using it to get more customers, but to get more job applicants.
Yeah, it could work. I saw a big Facebook campaign that was something on like for developers, like applying for developer, you can get like a free Chipotle gift card. I haven't seen too many creative things like more growth hacking. I've seen more like paid advertising type of stuff, and it could work. You just got to get creative. The best thing I've actually seen for job applicants is it's your about page. So having a really good story and showing how your work is really fun, and there's awesome people working there, and some of the fun activities, and showing your culture and some of your like true colors. That's what gets you the most job applicants. Buffer does a great job of it. I think Buffer has like thousands of job applicants for like each position that they're trying to fill, just because they like are very transparent and show their company culture.
I'm jealous. That's awesome. What would you, so you talked about referral partners. How do you go about approaching these businesses and trying to get them on board to become a partner with you?
So you just actually, it's just a cold approach. It's a numbers game. You got to email. Some are going to say no, some are going to say yes, and then go from there.
Cool. Any specific messaging you recommend using?
Not at the beginning. At the beginning, you got to end up testing, and then once you have a few partners on board, then your next email should be like, hey, just want to reach out to a partnership. By the way, X, Y, and Z companies already on board. Just want to let you know that you'll be in great hands.
Yeah, I can definitely reiterate that. That's something that has worked for WordStream, is once you've got a couple, you know, that you're already partnering with, and you've got some targets in mind, maybe some stretch targets, just let them know who you're working with and the results that they've seen from you. It's also, a little bit of ego bait isn't bad, letting people know that you are really impressed with their company and their command of the market and their thought leadership, and that you'd really just love to capitalize off the amazing things they're doing. Everybody wants to hear that they're doing a good job. This is a specific question. Somebody is about to launch an Android mobile app. Any particular integration method you would suggest? If that makes sense.
For a mobile app, no. I would more so figure out how to get people to share the game on Facebook, Twitter, etc. for more points or coins or something.
Cool. What about for companies that have a really hard time getting users to provide their personal information? What are some hacks to get people more comfortable giving not just their name or their email, but their phone and their address and those sort of things?
Two things. One is trust seals. That actually helps a lot, like showing accolades like, hey, featured in New York Times or Wall Street Journal, or BBB good seal rating, or hacker safe seal, or whatever it may. So those trust seals help. But the biggest thing that actually helps is you break it up into steps. People actually have long forms that say name, email, phone, etc. It doesn't work that well. Ask for name and email on first one page, and then through the next pages start asking for the other form fields, such as phone, etc. Break it up into, instead of one page, like 2, 3, 4 pages. So test, how many pages work best for you. And even if they don't complete it, at least you'll get partial information throughout the stages or throughout the funnel. And that's what we do, and we see huge lifts as we break it up into multiple steps.
That's great. I also want to mention, we've talked a lot about testing is just the best way to learn what works for you. One of the tools WordStream uses is Optimizely, so you can test on your landing pages and your website what will work best, and testing your forms like this, how to get people to give you more information about them, more of their personal information is, you can test through Optimizely different form paths. So check that out if you are looking for a resource to help you do some testing and get some direction. So that's all the questions we've got for right now, unless you recommend any other tools that our audience can check out to help them with their testing and their hacks.
Yep. So it's like when you're doing all of this kind of stuff, make sure you start off with just even Google Analytics. I know that sounds really simple, but it's actually a free tool that's really powerful. You can track a lot of events, goals, conversions, etc. And that'll actually help you get started, because when you're doing anything to try to grow, you need numbers to show you if something's working or not. And if I had to spend some money, the quickest and cheapest way to spend money is Google Analytics for free, maybe hire a consultant or a few hours for them to set it up where I'm tracking all these events and conversions and goals and stuff like that.
Great. All right. Well, that's it for today. If you have more questions that you think of later, feel free to reach out on Twitter or send an email. My email is well, you can just, my email is my last name, and it's really confusing, but just try email marketing@wordstream.com, and we'll get that. All right, we will catch you guys later. Have a good day.